He's showing as Zaire, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am.
because sent
Who would you
him
wanna
your
be?
link. So that's
Okay.
why you both are coming up with the same
But
name.
we can rename him like this. Is it
Okay, but there is a link for him as well. So
Yeah, he has a special link.
but
There it is
maybe
now.
Welcome back, Dale.
Thank you.
there you go.
Okay.
All right.
So Dale, I don't know if you had time to review the applications. There are two applications. One is a simple addition and probably doors and windows mainly, and the second one is a signage and environmental graphics, the Riverton Square. So that's more or less, you'll enjoy it.
Dan, what day were the drawings sent again? I looked at them, but I can't find them again in my email now.
It's sent under Daniel Romer.
And they're also, if you go on the Village of Dobbs Ferry website under projects, the same.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, look, this is for whatever it's worth. It's a good exercise for the future of digital applications because, everything is accessible
Oh, I got them.
digitally.
Perfect.
Elisa set that up for us. She did an excellent job. It's the way to go. Hopefully we go like this from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's great. Thank you, Alyssa.
I miss
was
you
all
all,
okay.
and it will be good to see you, exchange
But
ideas personal.
Do you want me to tell you the sort of how this will work digitally for the Zoom applicants to explain how this participation works in a remote setting?
Yeah, can they hear you too, the attendees?
They can all hear me. They can't talk right now. So
Okay.
right now we have 4 attendees.
Yep. I saw that.
So I'll just explain that in this remote setting, when each applicant comes forward, we can make them a panelist and then they can share screens if they need to. I'm not sure if they need to tonight, but in any case, if they have comments or want to answer your questions, they can raise their hand, and that is going to be on the right-hand side. There's a button that says raise hand. If you click on participants, or if you're on the phone, which I don't think any of them are, but if you were on the phone, you would push *9, and then we'll call on you to speak for the
Okay,
attendees.
so can you say again, where is the command to raise hands?
There should be a raise hand button on the right-hand side. So you click on participants on the lower navigation bar, and on the right-hand side, there's a column, and you see the panelists and the attendees.
I see.
And there should be a button that says raise hand. Do you see that?
I see it. Yeah.
Okay. So now, and that everybody has that, not just the panelists, but the attendees as well. So we should go ahead and start the meeting, and then I'll help by calling on the attendees as they raise their hand, or moving someone over to panelist as you call on them.
Okay. So it's another minute and should be at 8 o'clock, right? So
yeah, we could call on the first one too on the agenda because I believe that's their architect, Spencer Leaf.
Right.
But he hasn't submitted anything new for us to review.
Right. So we'll start by Walgrove and continue it.
Yep.
And all right. Well, it's another.
So somebody's raised their hand. Would you like to hear from Spencer Leaf has raised his hand?
Yeah, Ayer's going to call it right now.
Yeah. Why don't we start? We open the meeting and then it shows at 7. Now it's 8 o'clock. Okay. So we should start. We're ready. Everybody ready? Okay, so good evening, everyone. Today is the meeting of the Architectural and Historical Review Board, April 27th. Hope everybody is healthy and safe. And we will have an interesting agenda tonight, 3 applications. The first one is 65 Walgrove Avenue, which I believe we haven't received any material, so I will make a motion to continue this agenda to the next meeting. So do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? So we will move to the next item on the agenda. It's 12 Southland Avenue. It's a renovation alteration. Is the applicant participating of this?
Is that Aaron Gabriel?
Yeah,
So I'm sorry, is Spencer Leaf has raised a hand? Should I call on Spencer Leaf?
Is pertinent to the application of
Walgrove.
Walgrove? Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, please.
Yeah.
So before we go to the second agenda, yes, let's open up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to unmute. Okay, there you go. Spencer?
Hi, I just wanted to jump in here for a second. I did send a revised package of materials only about a half hour ago. I didn't get notice that these meetings had been switched to a digital format until only recently. If it's possible, I can share my screen and we can go through materials. However, if it's easier to do the continuation until next week, so there's more time to review beforehand, that's fine as well.
Yeah, that's what we'd have to do because the drawings would have to be in.
Okay.
I think that, look, we just voted for continuation. I think I suggest you should send us to us digitally. We gladly review it. Send any comments if we have, and we'll review it in the next agenda. Make sense, everybody?
Okay. So Dan, that should be in your inbox whenever you get to it.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
check, Spencer, and I'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we are going to review 12 Southland Avenue. Do we have any presentation from the applicants?
Okay. I'm gonna allow her to talk. Hold on one second. Okay.
Hi,
I
this is Kurt and Aaron Gabriel. We're both on.
okay, great.
I don't think we have any additional presentation. Everything was sent previously.
Yeah, everything should be in the packet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything is in the packet. The packet was complete to the best of my knowledge. I see that it's mainly an issue of replacing windows
Right.
on the
Exactly.
addition. I personally don't have. The only comment I have on the bay window. One second. I had to load the drawings back. While I do this, anybody else has any comments from the board?
Yeah, I had a question. Is it only the windows that they are replacing? Is there anything else? I couldn't tell because there were no notes on the drawings.
Yeah, it's part of a kitchen renovation, which has got a separate building permit in process now. But because we wanted to replace the windows, we were told that it also required a AHRB review. So, it's a kitchen renovation in the current footprint, no moving of walls or anything like that, but we are just replacing the windows. So
Perfect. So now that I have the question on the bay window, any reason that we abstain from doing the lights, the SDL, the simulated dividing lights? Or is it something that you can?
it's just the way that the bay window is right now. So we were just
Yeah.
replacing it in kind,
Yeah.
basically.
We actually didn't. I think that's something that I would definitely consider doing, just to keep it in more,
in character with the rest of the
look
house.
But the window that is there currently that we are replacing is a bay window that does not have simulated divided lights for some reason.
I see that. My opinion, because the entire house has the 6/6
Right.
simulated dividing lights. It seems natural to me to keep that in the same character.
Okay.
So it's a suggestion.
It looks, graphically, it also looks, this might be a graphical issue, but it looks to be at a different elevation than the existing when you compare it. So you
Yeah,
lose
I-
that a little bit.
Yeah, we were, the top placement of the window is going to be the same, but it's going to be a slightly taller window. It's going to extend a little closer to the kitchen countertop
Yeah, over the
than
counter,
the
you mean?
current window does.
Right.
It's fine with me.
It also looks like there is a new French door called out.
Yeah, that's, I was gonna say that there, we are replacing the back door, and the current door is like, I think it's a standard size door with a side light on the one side, and we're replacing it with just a standard door
Mhm.
with like with a window in the door.
The existing bay window though seems to be in line with the current windows, but the new window that you're showing looks higher, coming back to what Brandon was saying. Is there any reason why you are making it higher than the rest?
I believe it's the counter height.
Kitchen counter.
Right, yeah, it's actually not any, depending on how you define higher, it's starting at the same point at the roof line or at the, at the eave line. It's just it's gonna be a taller window because it's going to extend down to the countertop, and the countertop is gonna extend into the bay window.
That's fine. I thought that in the drawings, in the existing photographs, it looked like the existing bay window was in line, the head height was in line with the existing windows. In the new drawing, it looks like it's higher, the head height. That's just the way the drawings look.
Might just be the drawings, should be at the same height. Hold on, let me try to get the.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
You're looking at your detail 2 on your A4,
Okay.
or the elevation 2. It's the south elevation proposed.
So are you just going to patch, the door is actually narrower than the original door,
Right.
and you're going to have a gap below the window. So are you going to refinish that whole side of your house to match the existing?
Yeah, it's stucco, so we'll have to patch the stucco and repaint to match.
Oh, I see. It is in the same head height. You're right. Nope, that's
Yeah.
fine.
The head height should be the same. It's
Yeah.
just gonna be a little bit taller of a window. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. No worries.
All right, another question is, are you planning on having lighting, outdoor lightings for, from the door, the new door?
We already have, I guess it's not on the drawing, but we do already have like a sconce
Okay.
to the left of that door, so it will.
That's
we're not
existing to
changing
remain. Okay,
In the photo.
okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll make a motion to approve this application. Understanding that the bay window is gonna be provided with simulated divided lights. That's basically it, right? Do we have a second?
Second.
Who second? Brandon second.
I'll second.
There you go. And all in favor?
Moved.
Thank you. Hi, Paul, by the way.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. So now we're moving to the next application, which is Riverton Square. Let's open that application.
I'm
Okay.
gonna make Joanna Rotund a panelist so that she can share her screen.
We could start, yep. They're all on there for that application.
She's gonna
So-
share the screens. Okay.
And sorry, Dan, of all those attendees, who else should be made a panelist?
Dino, Frankie, Jack, and I think Jeffrey Goldie too.
Okay.
I think he's with that project.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting us share our screen. So we have a few of us joining here. I'm Joanna Rotundi, Transactions Manager for Regency Centers. I've seen some of you before when we were before some of the board for the retaining walls and the parking deck. But we have Dino De Laurentiis, our Project Manager for Regency. I see he's joining. We have Jack DeVilliers, our Vice President of Operations for our entire Northeast, or most of our portfolio in the Northeast. And then we also have Frankie Campione, who is our architect from Create. And he's been with us since we started our due diligence on this project. So we're happy to be before you to discuss something positive, and we are hoping that we can take all of your questions. And Frankie is going to lead the charge here. But as you know, in the times that we're in today, it's so important for us to, more important than ever, to make improvements and make a difference here as we start to open this world back up. So I'm just gonna put a caveat out there. We're gonna do the best we can to do this in phases as quickly as we can. However, given the environment today, we wanna just kind of walk through the entire project as a whole. But as we go through these next few months, we're gonna try and understand how we can tackle this the best we can. So I'd love to turn it over to Jack, if you'd like to say anything, and then we can bring it on to Frankie. Oh, you're on mute.
He's muted. Yeah.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I really don't have anything to add. Thank you all for allowing us to present. I think Frankie will do a great job walking us through everything. So look forward to seeing the presentation. Hopefully we can answer any questions that come up.
Okay.
Thank you all. Frankie.
Yes, ma'am. I think I'm unmuted, but I don't know if my screen is visible.
Not yet.
That can be.
Is that a command I need to do, or is that something Ms. Fassman has to do for me?
Let's see.
No, you should have the ability to share screen at the bottom. If you can see in the bottom navigation bar, there should be a green button
Next to
that says
chat
share
and
screen.
before record, right? There we go.
That's it.
Are we there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
Great.
Perfect.
So
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna.
we had the black and white submission, so this is much better. Thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I do want to tell you most of what you have is relevant, except Frankie will walk through it, but I think there's just, color schemes and things that we honed in on here to be specific. So Frankie,
Okay.
go right ahead.
Thank you. So thank you again for allowing me to e-present. I guess this is it's the second time I've done this in 2 or 3 weeks now with the review boards. It's the new, right? I just thought I'd take a step back to acknowledge that having designed retail centers for 20+ years as principal of CREATE, and I've met some of you up in Dobbs Ferry, but having done this through 2 recessions and 9/11, every time we think we've seen it all, something else hits and makes us rethink. And for some people, the rethink requires a pause or a setback, which we're seeing across the nation with so much work put on hold, especially in retail. So on a positive note, not as the designer, but as a professional with firsthand knowledge of the market, it's actually wonderful and commendable that Regency Centers is the relatively new owners of the center, and they're committed to the reimagined Rivertown's Square. So with that, and with Joanne's sort of introduction here, I'll walk you through the architectural, or perhaps a better word is the aesthetic improvements being proposed. On A200A, front and center along the Sawmill, is the proposed Mom's Organic Market. First and foremost, we approached the project on numerous levels, but we felt the need to make an impact to announce something new, fresh, and exciting has happened, which is noticeably visible and updated color scheme, dare I say, from the banal, almost forgettable 90s beige, and what I've called to Regency this value engineered, painted to match brick red. I did find on the internet what this was supposed to look like, and it looks like somebody else, not Regency, that developed this, gave you the bait and switch, for which hopefully we intend to improve. The other is to carry the design elements from the windows on the right-hand side of where the retailer sits over to the open cells of the on-grade parking garage. That way we can give the tenant more presence across the whole front of the building, something we feel is very important given the notion that others that have not succeeded in the same location, hidden by the vegetation to the north, as you all know better than I do. This elevation culminates with a relocated pylon sign from the top to the garage on the north, which is not visible and almost doesn't serve any purpose to the new position on the southern end of this building. And the upper level of this building I'll address a little bit later, but of course we have improvements there as well. And I guess what I'll do is I'll just go sheet by sheet until somebody stops me or so forth.
Yes, yes, please. Go ahead with the presentation.
A200B, the new color concept is carried through the sides of the building. And it's not just eye candy and what I call eye candy facing the sawmill, but the Regency is investing in the entire property and will bring the color scheme throughout. So it's not just front facades only. New blade signs are proposed as part of the improvements on both the north and west facades. A201 Building D, currently, I believe this one is vacant. We've adopted a variation on the new color concept. We've introduced new fabric awnings, which not only provide some protection from the elements, but in our opinion, helps to break up the scale of what was previously just a blank facade that now exists. So we're trying to bring this down to a pedestrian scale also, rather than just one long, tall, 20-foot facade. And that's, of course, again, on the side that faces the IPIC as well as the main road. A202 at the base of the hotel building G, currently the tenant signage is completely lost, and the visibility being set back along the raised sidewalk behind the landscaping is somewhat obscured. Hence, our goal here is to merely lighten the sign band by painting the exposed brick and providing some new narrow awnings. One, I believe, is already installed at the Drilux tenant up in here. So we're going to carry that profile across to existing and new tenants as well. A203A, Building H, or what my office calls the Buddha Building. By your design, and I'm going to watch facial reactions on this one, is what I affectionately call Cinderella's castle at the end of Main Street. Whether we like that notion or not, so no pressure for a building that seems to blend into everything else. So here we're proposing new lighting, new outdoor seating, new potted plants, a railing to enhance the area, repainting the entire building, and installing new wood look slats, which is actually a metal product called longboard, which is very durable and quite beautiful actually, but it doesn't weather the way wood does or need to be replaced as often. Basically to change the architectural style, but still let some light through, because they won't be solid. There'll be a light space in between that'll allow light to still come through to the arched windows for the tenant behind. On the north wall, visible to the pedestrians, will provide what we call an Instagrammable moment, as well as extremely visible from the hotel lobby. We're proposing new mural art to adorn what is currently just a blank wall. And the art is going to be submitted separately, correct, Joanne?
Yes, we have some schematics that we're working on and ideas, and before we will install, we would love to submit separately and have that approved, but we would love to cover everything else and then, you know, maybe provide a cut sheet for that separately to be commented on.
203B again shows Regency's commitment to the center's success and investment. New colors will be included on both the south and west walls as well of this building. So it's, again, not just the front and one side that's visible, but all sides. 204A, I'm on the right sheet, yeah, 204A, building I, as it's known, could have actually been left as is. I believe it's fully leased and separated such that any shopper or consumer might actually think it's a separate development. But here again, Regency is committed to improving the overall imageability of the center. All the existing IFIS gets recoded in a product called Revive It, which is actually the paint product of Drive It. It's breathable product and is used for the reapplication of Drive It facades. That we're going to repaint, obviously, the entire front of the building with the new color scheme. And we're proposing on the south wall, this too would receive a mural, and the north wall is repainted as well. So this area right down here ultimately would get mural art.
And if I could just elaborate a little bit on the mural art and where we were. I know Charlene and Ed, we had referred us to Christy. I'm drawing a blank on her last name. And we had been working with someone in town to try and get a third location. So we'd have 2 here at Rivertowns and 1 in town. And the idea was to have this live well, eat well, be well. And we are still working. Christy actually wasn't able to find someone downtown that was willing to cooperate. However, we would still like to enter this into our redevelopment. I think it would make an impact, and I think it would just connect so well with consumers trying to see what's there. So we definitely will forward anything that we have, Art, once we have it, but we just wanted to make sure it was perfect before we submitted it.
I have to apologize. I don't want to sound monotone as we're doing this over the internet. Typically, when I'm presenting, I've got big boards and raising my hand a lot and very animated, and here I'm doing it from my kitchen table. It's a little less exciting this way, but hopefully
the new
images
right?
the images are doing okay for you. 205 A and B, which is building J and K. That only gets repainted, but we're proposing outdoor seating on both existing concrete areas, left and right, if you will, of this image, to create some real patios for alfresco dining, which I think we're going to find very soon is going to be needed. Luckily, we're coming into summer months as we continue social distancing through the summer. Tables, chairs, umbrellas, festoon, or what some people call Tivoli lights, planters on both the east and west sides of the building. On the east side, the owner would like to replace the Go Health build signage here with something more memorable and less temporary looking in nature. And on the west side, we'd like to request approval for all tenants of this building to have signage as well visible to the sawmill.
Mm-hmm.
On 207, the stair enclosure to the south opposite IPIC that connects the lower and upper level parking will be repainted. We see this as a great opportunity for environmental graphics, both on the outside of the structure here, and then when we pop inside the space as well, just to do something fun, a little left of center, perhaps painting the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, leading you down to the moms in the lower level and the garage. So taking what's currently just sort of a cavernous convenience there and actually make it a little bit more fun. And then we extend the similar graphics, a bold, oversized wayfinding to the what I call the cold concrete walls of this garage below. So we're proposing similar graphics from above down below. 210 is just a perspective of the Buddha building, so you can start to see what would happen when the color scheme comes. We have not as yet added the awnings to this rendering and so forth. This was really to show you what would be visible for the mural art. 211 starts to get into our wayfinding, both for vehicular and pedestrian safety, through wayfinding an easily recognizable brand logo and direction. This will allow vehicles to quickly know where they're going and have better reaction time in what is otherwise a very short throat uphill to the roundabout. So
just so to understand, the other graphics stay, we have this new pylon and the other one that I see to the right, those are to remain?
The one to the right is not ours. That's an adjacent property that's not owned by Regency.
That would stay. That would be there.
So that where that sign, the new proposed sign is actually on town property, but to the right is Chauncey Square, right at that sidewalk.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That is actually the only sign that would be in any right of way, and we sent that separately. I think in a package that would show the 3 locations or 2 locations that would affect anything that's not owned, which this is really the only structure. The other is just.
I don't have a problem. I'm not arguing about the looks of the sign or where it is. It's just, it might be overwhelming amount of information in such a small place, but we can talk about it later.
Yeah, so to that point, I mean, we don't know how cooperative the adjacent owner would be in working together with us, but I think it's important for us when you immediately step in to the property to know to go right to the market or to go up. So we would love to implement this, and if the owner is willing to work with us, we'd love to do something in conjunction with them,
Correct.
but we can talk about that later.
All right, so we can talk about that, yes.
Do you have plan views that show all of these new sign locations?
Sorry, say that again?
Do you have plan views that show all of these new sign locations?
Site plans? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is a site plan.
I didn't see it in this set.
Frankie, is it in the latter part of this where we get through signage? If not, I know we did submit it separately. Ed had asked us to prepare a separate package that included that.
Yeah,
If
and
not,
also if the digital images in color really help, because what we received is all black and white.
Okay, so Dino, would you try and access that and see if we can email it? You could email it to myself or Frankie, and we can pull it up at the end when he gets through all.
Yeah.
I do have it. I just didn't.
Oh,
I
great.
didn't want to. I didn't want to pop out of the screen yet. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
in
it's
this
fine.
package, but I do have
Let's
it that I can
continue.
pull up.
I just wanted to actually, I diverted a little bit just to clarify what was going on with the sign, that it was off-white. Okay, see, so just keep going. with the
Okay,
presentation, please.
212. So we carry the concept throughout the property, not only for the brand and store locations, but for the parking as well. And again, you all know the center, even though I've been playing with it since the end of 2016, and I know it pretty well. I'm sure you guys all know it better. And there's this sort of desire to make the first left, but you don't make the first left. You go past the hotel and then you make the second left. And so we want to make sure that anybody that comes up the roundabout and heads north understands that you don't make that first left, you keep going. And so as you continue down towards the iPic into the residential ahead, it's clearly visible that this is where you then make the turn in for the parking garage behind the street level retail and hotel. This one is the sort of well, it is the main entrance, and we are proposing some improvements here as well. We would like to add some vertical hard signage or placards done tastefully along the perimeter of the property that become part of the aesthetic and match the signage materials to that of the existing center. So don't think of these as temporary banners. They're not like the kind that get clipped onto light poles or that you see for Northwell Health or something like that, or some other temporary facility. These will be made out of the same hard material that is proposed for all the wayfinding throughout the site. We would like to replace the new railing with the fencing here with new decorative railing. At the corner element here, replace, there's currently nothing, but put the Rivertown Square signage, leave the existing pylon where it is behind that. And then we've even proposed the potential of putting a Rivertown Square sign atop the building a little further back onto the roof. Just so as you're driving up the hill, you know that you have arrived. This one shows you, I'm turned around for a second, but this one shows you facing the sawmill, the upper level on the side of IM Burger, where we would propose the outdoor seating with the festival lighting and a blow up of the pylon that essentially removes the one to the north and then replaces it with this one here at the bottom. And the placement of this was also taken into account with edge lighting on the wood look element here, aimed this way and away from the adjacent property.
Okay, so you mentioned the wood, it's a wood element, correct?
Wood look, yeah. So it is
Wood look,
metal,
yeah.
but it looks like right. So it looks like wood, but it's metal.
I understand, but and that carries throughout the all the signs that they have the look.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's the question, the consideration for a large pylon sign and then also graphics or signage on the side of the building as well in such close proximity to one another for the same entities? Is there a reason for that? Lombardo's Pizza sign is in two places right next to each other. I'm guessing same for IM Burger and things of that nature on the pylon.
I mean, I think that, there are quite a bit of signs there and, Frankie, you can elaborate a little bit more, but I think in particular, those three tenants that are in that building, it's important for us to try and capture any signage to show that that's where they are. I think, you know, the other tenants on the, I mean, we can always work with that pylon, but we really think it'd be impactful to have signage on the building for those specific tenants because they have the least amount of visibility and it takes a while for people to get to know they're there.
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't know that I've actually asked you which tenants go on this pylon. So right now, I think the only one that's replicated is Lombardo's Pizza. I don't know that you've actually vetted that as owner, that you would want them up here and here, but I think the rest that are on this building do not appear here if I look really quickly. I mean, Go Health does, but they're on the other side without signage here.
I mean, that's a great point, and we can certainly rework what's on the pylon.
So we're not duplicating
So
efforts.
what we're talking about this, I see that the, let's say the theater and you have a background which is black. What are the materials of this?
I'll
signage?
actually get to that later because we have
Okay.
sign drawings from the sign manufacturer, but they are essentially all aluminum with backlit. So they're
okay.
backlit and they illuminate at night in the tenant colors. But what we wanted to do was give everybody or force everyone to have the black background so that while they still have brand recognition with their color on the face, we weren't starting to color every panel that slides in differently. We're trying to still give it an upscale look. As you know, crossing the streets here are a little bit confusing, especially up by the roundabout. So again, we were just trying to come up with sticking with the black and white color scheme, but come up with some kind of fun, interesting ways that clearly tell you to walk this way, or as my staff put, or that way, depending on which way you were coming from. So this is an example of the sort of chalk art that we would propose for crosswalks. This is a blow up of each of the proposed alfresco dining areas in front of Buddha, Lombardo's, Burger IM, as well as Mom's Market. I know that one of the comments that we had in a session in town there, someone had mentioned to us Burger IM exit door out of here as well as through the back of this corridor and keeping this clear. So we've made that adjustment on the locations of the planners and to keep this free space along the edge of the building in this particular location. But you can see the idea of how the elevation matches up with plan, which was a comment that had come back at one point. And then the signs themselves. So hopefully this was submitted to you along with the package, I believe it was, but it actually gets into the technical details.
No, actually, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. And if it was submitted, it was in black and white. It was very difficult to look at it. But you know, keep going. I think it's very clear.
And then we can also submit this to you in color electronically immediately following.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can get the color one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, this is a separate application. We have this. It'll be coming up.
Okay.
So this is under the garage on the first level. So this is at the actual doorway entry because you know you don't enter from facing Sawmill. You enter once you're in the garage, and their front door is actually underneath the structure. Here's the details for the signage that's proposed on the edge of the building here. Again, for the vertical stanchions along the perimeter. All the materials and not only the materials, but the actual dimensioning and so forth. So you'll start to see how this gets put together. And here too, for the wood look awnings that I had mentioned at Buddha, as well as at
I see.
Mom's. And so how it gets put together and built, essentially. And then how we're going to literally how we're going to fasten into the existing structure. So that's everything. I think I can pull up, if you don't mind me just very quickly searching on my server here. I know Dino had sent it to me earlier. I could pull up that plan if you'd like to see that as well. So
Great.
that first sign that you saw when you first drive into the center was down here. And then all the other ones, you know, the pole banners and then the Rivertown Square, they're all identified on here. So if you don't have this, we'll make sure that you get it.
Yes, please.
And with that, I don't have any other pretty pictures for you.
That was great, Frankie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does
Frank.
does your site plan show the existing signs that are in place? I don't seem to see them, but it's very small on my screen.
If this one doesn't, I thought we did have one.
It does.
That did.
Yeah, this one does.
It says existing sign, existing pylon, you know, whatever. And I think it's
Okay.
it's very clear.
Yeah, so here it's showing
Alright.
the existing and then the replacement.
Right.
So here it shows the existing pylon on the north, and that's the one that we want to replace with this one over here, further south on the other side of Mom's.
And what about at the Chauncey Square sign? Do you show their sign and its relationship to yours?
We do not show Chauncey's sign.
Yeah, so if you could imagine, you know, right where it is, right where your cursor is a little bit further up. If you move it, it's to the right a little bit, like that's kind of right where it
Something
is.
in here.
Yeah.
And then even the new crosswalks that are proposed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Who wants to start making comments? Dale, it's your expertise.
Well, the first thing I would like to ask is, do you have a sheet or a digital image that shows the existing finishes of the complex and the colors that are there and the new colors that are proposed?
So like
I'm sorry, go
a
ahead,
vision
Joanne.
board kind of?
It's like a finish board, but it could be a digital finish board that just demonstrates what's there, so we could see in relationship to what's there, what you're proposing.
Well, we have these sheets which show the color of what's existing and the color that's proposed. And what we could do is actually call out the PT colors or paint colors and then give you a digital.
Could you just do the digital clips right off the website from the manufacturer that shows what you're proposing for all the paints and all the paint colors and also for the longboard product?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, actually, just adding to what Dale is requesting is, it will be great if you can provide us, I will say, an 11 by 17 print set to distribute for the board members, where you have like the digital colors, digital, I'm saying, like we don't have to have the paint chips, but at least calling the material.
No,
and
the websites.
Absolutely.
And because it's a substantial application to digest, and I would like to have a print so I can walk the site, see what things are, how, what you're proposing relates to the real site, walk the site, etc., and we can do it independently. That will be something that is will be important. In terms of the overall application, I think that what you guys are doing is the right move. I'm glad to see that there is a Mom's Organic Shop coming, and this will bring some life to that area that is kind of dull. And the overall proposal of reinvigorating the walkways, plazas, etc., I think it's the right approach. I am when I hear murals, I get a little concerned that could lead to a Disneyfying of architecture, which is maybe it's a balance that we need to make sure that we don't cross. it's still a village. It's not a, it's not a, recreation park. And then, but I think that the attitudes like the canopy or the sun, what you call it, the brise soleil or the sun canopy that you're proposing, I think is good. If you have like, I saw that you guys have details and materials and it's well specified. It will be good if we have the actual picture of the materials, but I think it will look great. It will really improve the building of the Buddha at least, and the corner of the chopped salad bar, I think is good. One thing that I might be an issue, that what type of white, as we all know that there are a lot of whites, and we like to see more about what kind of white you're proposing and try to understand it better. But you go ahead.
I also was wondering exactly how many colors you're proposing. It looks like you're replacing the red, you're replacing the beige, and you've got 2 additional grays that you've added,
Right.
Possibly 3.
I was gonna say at least 2. The way I think it's more than fair to ask for the material board, because what we are trying to do is, and your notion of a village is spot on, sir, because one of the things that we want it to be cohesive in a sense that it's all tied together, but we do want to break up the monotony that's there right now of just red column, tan fascia, red column, tan fascia. So there'll be a play of
which
these
I
grays.
personally welcome. I think the attitude is correct, but just let's say that what was presented in the nice drawings a few years ago to what got built, it's a kind of something got lost in translation, and I, let's have it right this time.
Sure.
And the last thing I want to say, and with that, I'll let everybody. It's just, let's make sure that we don't. We try to keep the the lighting ordinances, exterior lighting ordinances, the dark skies under control. We don't want to create what we all trying to protect in this village. Just make sure that we are in line with the lighting ordinances for exterior. And with that, I go ahead, Brandon.
I guess I had a question from looking at the existing elevation and then the proposed, and I echo the sentiments from Dale and I hear about the colors in the board digitally, but it looks as if from the renderings that I'm seeing on screen, or the elevations, that there's some type of textural look to the painted brick, right? And so can you explain a little bit more of the application of paint that you're talking about? I mean, you mentioned on some of the EFIS surfaces, there's a different coating, but when you go to paint brick, it tends to take on the color of the entire, with the grout joints and everything, it takes on the color of the one color, right? Your proposed elevation seemed to look like the texture of what would be brick, a gray brick with a different grout joint, right? With a different mortar joint. So it's something that would be hard to execute.
Sure. So the maybe I misinterpreted. So one of the things that we, in doing a little history here and finding some of the imagery that was originally presented, is that at one point this center was conceived where you see all the red to be brick. And we were not the architects, and Regency wasn't the developer. Somewhere along the lines, to use your term, got lost in translation. I used the developer's favorite term, value engineering. I think the building was made cheaper for whatever reasons, and I'm not one to advocate what I also call was the bait and switch. And so it appears to me that whether it received approval or not, I have no idea, but at some point someone decided to take all those columns that had previously been rendered as brick, were designed as brick, and said, well, you know what, we're only going to use the brick up to a certain height where people can touch it, and then we'll paint drive it above to match. And so that's where you see on all these columns red brick bases and then red above. Now the sad thing is there is a product called that Drive It makes that is a brick Drive It that looks pretty darn real. And they could have used that here, but they didn't. So one of the things that we had presented to Regency was, well, let's not pretend to be something we're not. And one of the things that's throwing off the proportions of the building is the fact that they're trying to come close to this reddish brown color and replicate it above. And up here, they even squirt it like a brick soldier across the top, but we know it's not brick. So we're not proposing to change any of what is actually quite nice brick at the base of the building, nor the stone. That all remains existing in most locations, with the exception of the brick that's over the sign area on the hotel. The rest, we're actually playing with the existing score lines that are within the Drive It or IFAS that's there, and then just paint it with that product that I mentioned, which is Revive It, which is Drive It Brands coating system. So we'll get you, we can get you hard samples of that, but we'll also get you paint colors of that. We're no longer trying to pretend this is brick. So when you go through the whole project, we are using different shades of gray. We do want to have the bright pop of white, but you're 100% correct. There are, you know, that famous movie with, was it Cary Grant? Mr. Blanding spills his dream house and he's running around going blue, 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 and yellow, yellow, yellow. And then he just says, you know, yellow. There's probably, you know, 100 different shades of white. So we will get you all that. But the only place where we're painting brick is on the fascia of the first level of the hotel. Up here, we're going to use the existing score lines to give it, basically give it that texture that is there. But it's being lost right now because it's all painted as one shade. So
Frankie, could you zoom in a little bit? Because if you actually see, I don't know how familiar you are with the details of that building. It does look like vertical.
It's a blur. It's blurry. I apologize because it's lower res.
Yeah, maybe that Buddha building that you redid, you might be able to see, but it would look much nicer painted, but because it has some dimension to it. It's not just straight ephes like the rest of it.
Right, and then the intent there, sir, is that the same, and I think you're picking up on it, or I'm understanding what you're looking for. So what we do to also enhance that is we won't use the same color gray here as we do here, because we will want to help the visual aesthetic of it. Actually, I'm using my hands as if you could see me, but what we try to do is sort of fake that depth by giving the top band a little bit, you know, 2 shades darker than the one that's on the column. So it does feel a little different as well, and not just monotone across the whole fascia.
Scoring gets lost completely in the existing. So.
Absolutely.
I think,
How do you
make
it look textural, better from afar?
I think it adds some verticality. What you're doing, you're making the pylons read more. I had a question also about the elevation where you've got the extension. It looks like where you have Lombardi's and the burger place, that an elevation, it looks like it's higher than it is in actuality. Are you extending the building on the top at all? Or is that just an illusion or a variation in the elevation?
It may be because we traced the CAD above versus the photo, which is slightly, you know, even though it's taken as an elevation, it is slightly skewed because we're down at, you know, I'm only 5'7", so this may feel a little bit foreshortened versus what you're seeing here or on the top, but we're not extending the building in height or adding anything to what's there currently. So this. Okay. The bottom image is a trace and color of the original CAD.
And I noticed in your plan for this particular elevation, well, in the elevation, you're showing just the awning on the one face. Are there additional awnings on the Lombardi side and on the Iron Burger side that face the parking lot? And there's also a pad on that parking lot that's shown in plan. And I'm wondering if you would consider expanding the seating area, because it looks the top of the parking deck still looks like the moon.
So you're talking about the pad that was out in the corner that was originally removed?
I don't know, has it been removed? There was a pad.
That square footage of that little tiny 1,300 square foot pad that was out in the corner there by the pergola originally?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that square footage was moved to within the building. And you know, we're working through that parking deck right now. We hope to finish that project here shortly, but we don't have any additional square footage we can add. But to your question is, can we expand the outdoor patio of Lombardo's?
Well, it just seems that you've added 3 tables on the outside, and it seems very sparse for this elevation, which is the most sparse elevation of the entire complex.
So the Lombardo's, if you pull it up, maybe I can. The reason why is the urgent care needs to be able to get through. So I'm not sure if the sparsing of the tables, although now we may need to sparse tables, if that came into effect here, why there was such a.
Well, I'm also speaking of the left side of the building where you still have sidewalk adjacent to the side of Lombardi's. You don't show it. You show the awning sticking out on your elevation,
Here.
number 5.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Look all the way to the left. You have an awning all the way to the left that sticks
Here.
out also, yes.
So, I
And
mean,
I
that's a
just want-
great point. If you think we can add more seating out in front there to create a better visibility from that side or you know, more welcoming, you know, we're happy to do so. I do know that we have to maintain something for the wheelchair accessibility of the urgent care because there's that ramp there. But, you know, we're happy to expand it. I'm sure Lombardo's would be willing unless anybody else on Regency opposes.
So you're suggesting this seating area come further out this way where there's all this sidewalk?
Well, yes, I'm in the plan above and this sheet, you show this pad in front of, right next to the seating you placed. And you're telling me that pad no longer exists.
I'm trying to see
To the
what-
right of
where
Burger
is that
Burger
plan?
IM.
Burger IM is here.
Right.
And
Okay,
here's the
and
edge of
go
their
to the right.
building, and then right
Yeah.
here.
Right there.
There, exactly.
Oh, I don't think that's the pad that you were referring to, Joanna.
No, that's not what I
This
was
is-
referring to.
You're referring to the pad that's over by the stairwell, right? This
Right,
is,
yeah,
this is just, I think this is just sidewalk area because it's where 290 degrees of parking park. You've got a head-in parking in front of Burger IM and then head-in parking that hits the wall across the front of Mom's. So
So when I look at your elevation number 2, it looks like
here.
you could extend seating all the way across there and make it more inviting.
He's-
And,
he's-
and
he's suggesting
landscaping,
pull
maybe.
this out. Yeah, or
Yes, and
landscaping.
landscaping.
Sure. So he's proposing this area right here. We do something and not just end it at the
Yes.
building line.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and will be more inviting because that condition
facade is very
Bergayam is kind of
Vacant.
desolate.
Sure.
I see. Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. Anybody else? So
Yeah, this is Larry Taylor. I'm not a formal member of the AHRB, but in the Board of Trustees liaison to the AHRB. And I just wanted to make the observation that the Board of Trustees has site plan supervision for Rivertown Square. And just thinking back to when the original development took place, there was significant concern at the trustee level about how the signage worked and how it looked, you know, relative to the image of the village that it projected, you know, toward the sawmill in particular. And I think as Zaire already referred to, the way the lighting works is, you know, going to be very important to understand. So, you know, that's something that you know, we'll be very interested, I think, to hear the AHRB's, you know, thoughts on in terms of how those pieces ought to work. And I say all that in the context that it's wonderful that Regency wants to invest in the property, improve the property, and you know, bring energy and excitement to the property.
okay, so
Yeah, so we definitely, I don't think we have any major changes to the lighting and we understand that we can't do any uplighting. And, you know, if there's any details that are not in here, you let us know if you have any additional questions. But yeah, we completely understand and we're happy to address any concerns you have.
All right,
At this
so
point, I'm not sure that they're concerns. It's just we're going to want to understand it. So, that's going to be something. It may make sense to have you do a presentation for the board of trustees at some point in time, but we could sort that out as the process goes forward. And again, I say all that in the context of being, pleased that you're investing in the property, and it should be the improvement should be good.
No, we thank you.
Can we go back to the crosswalks quickly? I know there was concern of the mural art and kind of what that does to the overall, right? I'm wondering, just from a need standpoint, I mean, what's
I think that's
other than,
Yeah, so I mean,
what's the real need for this?
yeah, and just to maybe reiterate a little bit, we wanted to do something very tasteful, but at the same time, in line with the theme of black and white, and maybe use some silhouettes or we have actually some images of other shopping centers throughout the country that have done it very tastefully, and it's, I think, what I would like to carry throughout here. However, it's not a need. We think it's something that it just brings the community together and it attracts people's eyes on the sawmill in a tasteful way. So, we're open to any comments you have, but I think there was also discussion, and again, I don't know who Christy is. I was late to the game on this mural discussion, but it was something that was well received in the town prior to us presenting something. So again, it's not a need. It's something we thought would add some community out welcoming piece to this.
With how busy that is coming off of the sawmill, I don't know if this takes away from the safety aspect of what a crosswalk really needs to be in such close proximity to high traffic areas, personally. Look this way sign pointing the right way, right? That you see in other parts of the world, right? Or maybe something to that effect that maybe looks a little more in line with what with some of the safety precautions that are taken at crosswalks, maybe something you want to consider.
Two quick thoughts, or one thought and one just a piece of information. Pedestrian safety has been over time a concern at Rivertown Square because some of the traffic patterns being as complicated as they are because people are coming right off the sawmill. And the board of trustees has at times been concerned about the flow of traffic in the roundabout and making sure that pedestrians are not put in harm's way. I don't know if this is the right way or the wrong way to do it, but the idea of making sure that people know where to cross would be a positive. And the Christy that you're referring to, I'm pretty sure is Christy Nell, who Christy Nell is a member of the board of trustees, who has been involved both in the downtown and in some design things that the board has thought of and been involved in. So that's probably the connection that got made.
Yeah, my apologies for not remembering the last name.
Oh, but if you knew how quickly I forget people's names, you would know not to apologize.
The only reason why I knew Christy is because that's my sister name.
all right.
I just wanted to mention something. In image A214 regarding the banners along that kind of stone wall. I feel like maybe those banners represent an overabundance of signage. That's just my opinion. I would like to piggyback on Lawrence's mention that I do appreciate your willingness and enthusiasm to improve the design. One thing that I have always regretted is the windows of the old Brooklyn market that I guess is going to be a mom's market that are facing the sawmill. I've always kind of hoped and wished that those windows would be open to allow visibility from that high traffic area into the market. If that was what you were planning, I would appreciate it. but I don't know, these banners just, because in the image I have, the black and white image I have, there is a sign right under the Rivertown Square sign with you know, the various businesses, and then there are also the banners to the left and right. On this image that you're showing me right now, I don't see that sign under the Rivertown's square signage, but
Yeah, we removed it because it would have been blocked by the cars. We actually did some, when we drove by, we realized it would block it. And also, to your point, we thought it maybe was a little overkill with the signage beneath and with the vertical signage. I hope we explained that banners for sure, we understand are maybe not well received, but these are some vertical signs that are made of some great material. And we really think it would add such a presence to this corner and would be so helpful for the tenants' visibility.
Keep in mind, they're blocked by trees, half of them. On the left-hand side of the Rivertown Square, right? The trees that are on.
Yeah, some of them we'd have to be placed appropriately.
Right, so.
Depending on when you drive by.
And that's a perspective, right? Because it depends on the angle. If the photo in the upper left had been taken 30 feet further to the left, then they become visible or they don't become visible. It's as you're catching it in between, if you're stuck at the light, if you're driving through, if you're northbound versus southbound. But you're 100% correct in that the previous concept with the tenant signage below was just, it was just too much. It was visual clutter. And so we removed it.
I would caution, I mean, just on the other side, not in this perspective that's on screen now, but right next to the Chauncey pylon sign that's existing, you have an Ultra Beauty, right? You have an Ultra sign as well. So, please be mindful of the signs that you're planning and trying to propose as things like flags, like I see here, and then what's on pylons, because, if you're standing at the corner there, you can see you can see that Ultra is at both places. You don't need two signs for the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. We will be sure to place the appropriate signs in the best locations and not to overkill with everyone you can see that's right in front of you.
Right. I also saw on the elevation that the CHOP sign is shown in black when existing it's white. So I don't know if that tenant is proposed to change their signage as well. Some of
so what that is once we I had mentioned earlier in my little intro is we've been doing retail forever, and so this comes up often when an owner wants to paint their building, etc., but the tenant doesn't want to replace their signage. In the case of anybody that has a white sign or vice versa, there's a product, it's literally a vinyl that goes over the existing plexi letters, and it's such a slight perforation that you don't notice it unless it's on at night. So for the white background, we would take white letters, we'd put the vinyl applique over the letters themselves, which to someone that's in the parking lot looking back at the store, it looks like it's black. But it's actually like a 40-60% perforation, which you would not notice unless you're literally right up against it. In the evening, the light clicks on for Chopped or whomever, and the sign illuminates white. You probably have seen it, but didn't realize how they did that. How is it one color in the day and one color at night? And it's a relatively new, past couple of years system that they're able to do, and it works quite well.
Something that should be called out then, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, any more comments? Neighbors? I think we are ready to wrap up this presentation. I would suggest to have the available the material that we discussed. In my opinion, 11 by 17 sets, color will be great. So we can, including the plans, that we can walk the site and understand what's happening and where. I agree with Larry that this is a welcoming effort to revitalize that area, and looking forward to see it happening. Anybody wants to add some comments or? And okay, so we are ready to make a motion to continue this application. Yeah, we have a second.
Second?
50 seconds, and thank you very much. All in favor, and well, see you next time.
Okay, great. Well,
Great,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Okay.
Soon.
I think we are ready to wrap up this meeting. We don't have any more applications, and make a motion to adjourn this meeting for this evening. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Dipti, all in favor. Thank you very much. Just before we go away, for the board members, I would like to remind them that to follow up on that joint workshop that is been circulating. If you can join us, will be great. For I think it's May the 5th. And stay safe. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question before you go?
Yes, please.
Just to sort of, we understand what we have to submit. If we're able to submit something to you here shortly, do you think, and I'm not trying to rush, given, everything going on, but do you think that if it was in timely fashion, that we might be able to be heard next month?
Yeah.
Great.
On my end, yes. I think the application has, it's a good development. It's just more information just to be able to wrap up, get to the details and move the process along.
Perfect.
Say it again, Brandon?
Say it again.
When is the next meeting again?
It is May 11th, I believe.
Yeah, May 11th. That's
Yeah.
good.
I think if you submit in a timely manner, we could revisit this then.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Have a good night.
Have a
Have a
good
great
night.
night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Night.
Good night. Thank you, Dale.
Hey, Dad.
See you, Dale.
Welcome back. Hey,
Ah,
how are you? Hello, how are you?
Good.
So welcome back, by the way. You were missed.
yeah.
Anyway, so how is everything, Paul? Good? Busy?
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
keep you
okay.
busy at the, yeah?
Yeah, very busy. We're seeing less COVID
Okay.
last week. So I feel like in terms of the volume that we're seeing, the amount of patients that are COVID worried and COVID sick is going down. So that's
Excellent.
That's good. So social distancing and Zooming works, I guess.
Yeah, it really does.
So Paul, are you quarantined?
Oh yeah. I'm very sensitive to the fact that all my friends are terrified of me.
Because of the COVID or because of you? Alrighty. So what's happening to the IPIC, by the way? IPIC is empty right now?
Yes, they haven't put an application in as of yet. They spoke to us about something, but an application was never submitted.
Those are going to be interesting uses for the future. Restaurants, theaters, salad bars. Who's going to be near those things? Anyway.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
Oh,
Hoping
sorry.
to see you soon.
Patty, there you go.
Yeah, no
Thank
big
you,
deal.
Elisa.
Just thanking all you guys for doing what you're doing and having these meetings. And I think these are meetings are better than the regular ones. So I think you guys did a great job and stay safe out there.
Thank you, Patty.
You too.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.